What's up? It's AK Babyface. Subscribe to supporting icons for the latest boxing news.
So Deontay WIlder versus Robert Helenius. Could this be Deontay WIlder's comeback fight after back-to-back losses to Tyson Fury? I say yes, and I'll explain why as this video goes along. Now, if you are new to the channel, firstly, welcome. Congratulations, you found us. Please click that subscribe button. You're a boxing fan, yes? Click that subscribe button. Do it. Now, Robert Helenius is a WBA gold champion. That means that he's in line to fight for the final eliminator to become the WBA Mandatory. The WBA Mandatory will be up next for Joshua Usyk Part 2 winner. Unless, of course, the winner of Joshua and Usyk fights the winner of Fury White for undisputed. That's the only way that will not happen. Okay? But outside of that, the WBA is up next. It will not be the IBF. That's been recently completed when Kubrat Pulev got his world title shot. It will not be the WBO. That's been recently completed when Alexander Usyk had his world title shot. So now the WBA. Robert Helenius is in pole position. Now, the WBA, they could call Robert Helenius versus Daniel Dubois, versus Hughie Fury, versus Michael Hunter. Those kind of guys within the top 4 or 5 of the WBA. But it's unlikely. Reason being is because the WBA very, very pally when it comes to the PBC. It's not my opinion, it's a fact. Look at the rankings, tell me I'm lying. Okay, look at the history. Now, if Wilder does not fight Robert Helenius, then he's missed a trick. Now, I don't consider Wilder to be a very smart person at all, but his team, very smart. Shelley Finkel and that, very, very smart. Al Heyman, very, very smart. They can play the boxing politics rule. Robert Helenius is currently a PBC fighter. His last 2 fights have been on the PBC against Adam Kalnacki. He wasn't supposed to win either of those fights, but he did. They will see him as an easy win for Deontay WIlder. Now, bearing in mind, Robert Helenius, he does have 3 losses on his resume. One was to Dillian Whyte, where he literally ran the entire, every little square inch of that ring. Very, very defensive. Okay, so either way, he lost to Dillian Whyte. He also lost to Johan Duapa. That was his first ever loss. I mean, to be fair, that was a fight that he was winning, but he got clipped. It's a heavyweight division, okay? But Johan Duapa has defeated Robert Helenius, as has Gerald Washington. Duapa, Washington, both 2 guys that Wilder has fought and defeated before. So, on paper, Wilder should get the win, right? We know that's not quite how it works, but I think that Wilder would certainly be the favourite against Robert Helenius. Now, I do think Robert Helenius is better than what people give him credit for. I really do. He's a big puncher. He's a very good boxer. But sometimes he forgets. He has moments of scattiness and his head doesn't leave the line. That's when he gets caught. That's why he got caught by Johan Duapa. That's why he got caught by Gerald Washington. This is why he'll probably get caught by Deontay WIlder. This is not the kind of fight that will go the distance, in my opinion. These guys have recently been sparring as well. Robert Helenius was a chief sparring partner for Deontay WIlder as Deontay WIlder was preparing for the Tyson Fury trilogy. Okay, now Robert Helenius, WBA gold champion, so that's going to have a bit of a lure to it. And with him being in the final eliminator, potentially at least, why would Wilder not take that fight? He'd be absolutely mad not to. Of course he would. But if you look at the kind of opponents that Wilder has been fighting up to him getting a world title shot, his WBC when he defeated Bermane Stiverne, look at who it was, who he was fighting. 33 stiffs, including the likes of Jason Gavin. Jason Gavin was his final opponent before he got a world title shot. A well-passed shot to pieces, Audley Harrison, and a whole bunch of light heavyweights, cruiserweights, and whatever else. Gatekeepers, journeymen. But that's the kind of caliber opponent that Wilder likes to fight. Even as champion, who's fighting Spilka, Chris Arreola, Johan Duapa, Gerald Washington, a rematch with Bermane Stiverne, a Dominic Brazil. These kind of guys are the kind of guys that Wilder likes to fight. Robert Helenius fits that criteria. He does. Again, not my opinion, it's fact. Go have a look for him yourself. But business-wise, very, very smart move. Now, you could say, but Robert Helenius, he doesn't have to fight Wilder because it hasn't been ordered by the WBA. Firstly, it probably will be, okay? Especially with the PBC and the WBA connection. Yes, the WBA are under scrutiny right now. And the Alphabet Association, the Commissions, if you like, have noticed the bias when it comes to the WBA. So they do have to tread water carefully, but they are making some amendments. But once in a while, they'll just slip through this kind of fight. Yes, there are opponents up there who are currently ranked higher than Wilder in the WBA, but that doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean a damn thing. It really doesn't. But as I said before, business-wise, it will make perfect sense. Wilder versus Robert Helenius. Wilder beats Robert Helenius, then his next fight in could be Joshua Usyk winner. It's his best, quickest, easiest route to a world title. It's what Wilder's always done. That's not me hating on him, it's fact. Go have a look. He hasn't been fighting killers, he just hasn't. Even Tyson Fury was a cherry pick. That went badly, badly wrong. But Wilder has been showing some improvements, for sure. Under Mallet Scott, the first 3 or 4 rounds, he was actually throwing body shots, believe it or not. I know, that surprised me too. After then, of course, he reverted to type. He didn't know what else to do. But you could see that the foundations are there to build on for Mallet Scott and Deontay Wilder. I think them two together could do something. They really could. Wilder, he could get that one last payday. Would they put Wilder on against Robert Helenius on pay-per-view? You betcha. Of course they will. Robert Helenius is a known name for those of you who watch PBC shows. He is. But he's not that dangerous. He's a good opponent, and if he catches Wilder flush, Wilder will go to sleep. Wilder's punch resistance is shot. But he's still going to carry that power. Does he carry the confidence? Maybe. Has his profile gone up? Yeah, maybe. His profile's gone up in a loss, really, to Tyson Fury. Because he got battered, and he never quit. So his profile has gone up. So would that be pay-per-view? You probably have to say yes. Is it in reality a pay-per-view? No, but they certainly would. Hey, listen, if they can put Gervonta Davis on against absolute nobodies on pay-per-view, that's what they're going to do. Okay, so I would fully expect Wilder to fight Robert Helenius. Now, you could say, but there could be some other opponents like maybe a Charles Martin. Yeah, that is possible. That is possible. Wilder, he does get on very well with southpaws. Twice Luis Ortiz and, of course, Artur Szpilka. And Audley Harrison previously as well. So he gets on quite well with southpaws. He doesn't seem to have too much difficulty with them. Not that Wilder really boxes as such. He just waits. He's like a cobra and just waits to strike. Okay, and as a southpaw, you can walk onto it, and the knockout will be far more devastating. But Charles Martin, it's possible. It is possible. But again, maybe Andy Ruiz Jr. could be fighting Charles Martin. Maybe. I'd love it to be Andy Ruiz Jr., by the way. I'd love to see Wilder versus Andy Ruiz Jr. But him taking on Charles Martin, him taking on Andy Ruiz Jr., him taking on even a Frank Sanchez, or a third fight with Luis Ortiz, heaven forbid. But these kind of guys, even Adam Kalnacki, they're not going to do anything for his career. It's just going to be a case of him getting back in there and having a fight. That's the only thing for him. Robert Helenius is a route to a world title and a very, very winnable fight. Very winnable fight. As long as he doesn't get clipped himself, very, very winnable fight. For a fan's perspective, of course, we'd love to see Wilder versus Andy Ruiz Jr., but hopefully Andy Ruiz Jr. will take on Luis Ortiz next. If he doesn't, I would fully expect him to be fighting Charles Martin himself. So again, we'll have to wait and see what Andy Ruiz Jr. is going to be doing in December or January for his next fight. But for me, I'd like also to see him take on Otto Wallin. That would be interesting as well. Again, he's a southpaw. Wilder gets on well with southpaws, as I've just previously explained. But I do think it's going to be Robert Helenius. It's the most logical choice. Fight Robert Helenius. He knows Robert Helenius. He's been sparring him. Robert Helenius does have skitty moments where if he has a little bit of fear in him, he will go ultra defensive. If he goes ultra defensive, he is very hard to hit. That's for sure. But at times, as I said before, he puts his head in the line quite often. And that's bread and butter for Wilder. That's him becoming WBA Mandatory and fighting the winner of Joshua Usyk. So if he doesn't fight Robert Helenius next, Al Heyman and Shady Finkel have dropped the ball. I would fully encourage them to try and get that fight. In fact, I would fully encourage the likes of Ben Shalom and Sky Sports, Boxer, get Hughie Fury that Robert Helenius fight. If you're Frank Warren, get Daniel Dubois that Robert Helenius fight. Michael Hunter, is he still part of Triller? Get Triller to get that Robert Helenius fight. Somebody's going to get it. and somebody's going to beat him. So why not Wilder? What Al Heyman wants, Al Heyman gets. If he tells Robert Helenius you're fighting Wilder next, you're fighting Wilder next. There's no real options, is there? Anyway, my thoughts, you drop me yours, click thumbs up, subscribe, catch you on the next video.